Hello! In this video I'll be showing you how to make a cheap and effective wax stamp. You can create your own personal seal using just a little bit of clay and a few items you may have around the house. The great benefit of using clay is that you can imprint designs or even sculpt your own pattern, making something completely unique to you. I use oven-baked clay like Super Sculpey. Then get some sort of design pattern you want your stamp to look like. This can be made of any sort of jewelry, rings, necklaces, pendants, whatever you want. Get some kind of blade. A sculpting tool is great if you have one. Next, you can use anything you want as a handle. A stick from the backyard will do, or these little wooden blocks from the dollar store, which I'll be using for this demo. They work just fine and they save space. Lastly, you will need some glue. Sculpey clay, which I like, comes in many different variations. The more firm the clay, the better it will hold detail, but the harder it is to work with. So you really want to soften it up for this project if you're like me and you want the clay to hold as much detail as possible. The simplest method is to press your design into the clay and then clean up the edges however you want. In this step you can modify it however you'd like. You can add clay to hide the blemishes, such as this necklace ring. You can cut around the whole design, cut off excess pattern that you don't want, or change the pattern entirely. If you want to sculpt your own design, there are two basic ways to do it. The first method is to sculpt your seal exactly as you want the seal to look when it is pressed into the wax. I like to use a water bottle cap for a size reference and make my sculpture fit that space. I find that this method allows you the most artistic freedom and only adds one step to the process. You will have to bake your finished pattern and then press that into the clay to make what I call the negative space for your mold, just like in these other examples. The second method to sculpting your own seal doesn't add any major steps. This involves carving into the clay to make your negative space directly. Just remember that when you do this, everything will be mirrored when you stamp it into the wax. So, whatever your design is, especially if you're going to make any letters, it is important to carve them in backwards if you choose to sculpt the negative space this way. If you find that the pattern you used is hard to simply press in and out of the clay, you can try and carefully peel the clay off of it to maintain the image without damaging the detail. Once we have our negative space pressed into the clay, we will bake it at the recommended settings. This type of clay I use requires 15 minutes per 1/4 inch thickness of clay at 275 degrees. Now we simply let the clay set and glue on a handle for a completed wax stamp. Let's see how they turned out. I find that wax with its own candle wicks are the easiest for small stamps. But for larger seals, I just use solid wax and melt it with a spoon. Sometimes mixing colors is fun too. I recommend blowing on the wax a couple of times or waiting for it to cool down to a more workable consistency before you stamp it. The timing part of this process may take some getting used to, so we're going to do a couple practice runs. A trick that helps me prevent wax from sticking to my stamp is dipping it in a little flour first. This isn't necessary, but it helps. Then stamp the wax after it has had a slight chance to cool down. Dip a paintbrush into a bit of water and wipe off the excess flour. You can leave your stamps as is, but I like to paint them for an even more unique look. Now you have everything you need to know to create your own unique seal and send off your letters with style and a romantic flourish. These are great for wedding invitations, letters, birthday cards, secret correspondence, or whatever you wish. Your imagination is the limit. For an added romantic flourish to your letters, stick around my channel and I'll show you how to make your own ballpoint pens write in invisible ink. Thank you for watching and stay creative.